Dios enchanea, quechemalea. Good afternoon. Muy buenas tardes a todos y todas. I thank the Pontifical Academy of Science and Social Sciences for the invitation. I acknowledge my relatives and Yaqui ancestors. For the last 5 years, I have worked with the Tohono O'odham Community College on the reservation of the Tohono O'odham tribal nation in southern Arizona. The tribal reservation borders Mexico. The college has a National Science Foundation grant to bring Hindog, the way of life of the Tohono O'odham, into the teaching of the STEM fields: science, technology, engineering, and math. I work with community, faculty, students, and knowledge holders of the tribal nation. I've done this NSF project with my colleagues, my friends, my relatives for the last 5 years. Today, I share part of our work. According to Vine Deloria Jr., a well-noted Native American scholar, life is not scientific, social scientific, mathematical, or even religious. Life is a unity, and the foundation for learning must be unified experience of being a human being. Traditional ecological knowledge, TEK, is based on close observation of nature and natural phenomena. However, it is combined with the concept of community membership, which differs from that of Western political and social thought. Traditional ecological knowledge is strongly tied to specific localities, thus all aspects of the physical space can be part of the community, including animals, plants, and landforms. Therefore, Native worldviews can be spatially oriented in contrast to the temporal orientation of Western political and historical thought. We propose that transdisciplinary education is a decolonizing methodology since it serves as an antidote to the reductionism that is an artifact of Western scientific approaches to knowledge, whereas knowledge, traditional knowledge, is holistic, synthetic, and multi-contextual. As Indigenous scholars and educators, we seek to uncover educational approaches that transcend standard reductionist and analytical approaches in favor of Indigenous methodologies. We introduce a transdisciplinary climate change education model that can serve as a model of true learning, which, according to Greg Cajete, an Indigenous scholar, incorporates technical knowledge as well as an emphasis on reciprocal relationships with both human and natural communities. The movement toward a culturally responsive understanding of global change interpreted through an Indigenous lens has been limited, and our work aims to shed light on methodologies and approaches that incorporate Indigenous worldviews in the context of education of American Indian and Alaska Native students at tribal colleges, universities, and other higher educational institutions. We believe these approaches are critical to providing holistic, culturally sustaining science education, and it is our hope that this work will serve as a guide for others engaged in this work. Global climate change is inherently a transdisciplinary problem that requires input from multiple scientific disciplines and consideration of socio-ecological systems to achieve sustainable long-term solutions. While the differentiation and fragmentation of science into separate disciplines over the past several hundred years has yielded essential knowledge, methods, and tools, and integration of knowledge is now required to address complex scientific problems. This can explain the current trend toward transdisciplinary research in climate change science. Transdisciplinary research is defined as research that incorporates multiple scientific disciplines, as well as input from practitioners outside of academia. Similarly, transdisciplinary education goes beyond interdisciplinary content and includes the interactions between knowledge from academics and knowledge from practitioners to promote a mutual learning process. The need for diverse perspectives underscores the paramount importance of incorporating traditional ecological knowledge or indigenous knowledge in understanding and finding solutions to global climate change. In addition, leading scholars in science and environment education for Native Americans agree that pedagogy that incorporates TEK is a crucial component of Native American student success in the math and science courses. Traditional ecological knowledge is a cumulative body of knowledge, practice, and belief, evolving by adaptive processes handed down through generations by cultural transmissions. And it's about the relationship of living things, including humans, with one another and with their environment. Traditional ecological knowledge is a form of knowledge based on relationships and connection, ways of being in the world, in contrast to the parts and wholes reductionist approach typically employed under Cartesian influence aspects of Western science. This means that TEK can provide insights into the functioning of local ecosystem processes and to the organismal responses to changing environmental conditions, both of which are important in understanding some of the major environmental problems facing all societies in today's changing world. One of the strengths of traditional ecological knowledge is that it assumes that local environments and climate are continuously changing in a non-equilibrium fashion, and that living organisms, including humans, must be flexible in their ability to respond. Indigenous knowledge is a bit broader than traditional ecological knowledge and refers to a complete body of knowledge and practices maintained and developed by peoples who are locally bound and indigenous to a specific area. Indigenous knowledge is situational, tacit, culture, and context-specific knowledge that is orally transmitted from generation to generation, and it's dynamic, adaptive, and holistic in nature. Indigenous knowledge is rooted in the community and incorporates indigenous goals of living a good life, which is sometimes referred to as striving to always think of the highest thought. This metaphor refers to the framework of a sophisticated epistemology of community-based spiritual education in which the community and its tradition form the primary support for its way of life and quality thinking. Thus, the community becomes kind of center and context for learning how to live spiritually, and indigenous education is always situated in a community context. Indigenous culture processes vital place-based knowledge, which includes a history of adapting to highly variable and changing social and ecological conditions. Concepts of adaptation and change at much longer timescales than sometimes available via methods in natural sciences. Transdisciplinary approaches that incorporate traditional ecological knowledge and indigenous knowledge ensure its inclusion in the generation of new knowledge. We feel that transdisciplinary approaches to climate change education are vitally important to promoting resiliency in indigenous communities. Transdisciplinary approaches provide student opportunities to make connections between different types and forms for knowledge and allow them to examine concepts of culture, knowledge, and power through an indigenous lens, which in turn promotes self-education and sovereignty. Transdisciplinary education prepares students to be active, competent participants in transdisciplinary research, since they will be competent in both indigenous knowledge and community knowledge, as well as scientific knowledge. Furthermore, they will know how to navigate between two knowledge systems, and to be well-versed in methodologies to incorporate indigenous knowledge and community knowledge alongside scientific knowledge toward the production of new knowledge. This is vitally important because the resilience of indigenous community facing of climate change is strengthened when indigenous people change climate policies, are included in natural resource management, strengthen tribal economies, and engage in sustainable development. On a broader scale, well-trained indigenous ecologists who also have a strong grounding in their own cultural knowledge can provide the scientific community with unique, multi-contextual, indigenous perspectives on the science of ecology through traditional ecological knowledge. Since traditional ecological knowledge includes human interactions and is holistic in nature, transdisciplinary curriculum, including the social science dimension, is a natural outcome of teaching science from an indigenous perspective. Furthermore, the inclusion of traditional ecological knowledge across disciplines encourages integrative, multi-contextual thinking and promotes the interdisciplinary dialogue necessary to finding solutions to global environmental problems facing humanity. I worked with the elder traditional knowledge holder, Camillus Lopez Tohono O'odham, who we lost just a few days ago. And when we lose elders, traditional knowledge holders, it's like losing an entire library. Dios en Chanea, Quechemalea, muchas gracias. Dios en Chocuit, muchas gracias. Thank you.